What's up, Met fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets. Rob, how is everybody doing? Before I get started talking about the possibility of a big blockbuster trade between the Mets and the Rays, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you enjoy my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos, and when I go live, you guys know what to do. Hit on that subscribe button, everybody. All right, guys. So multiple tweets from Jon Morosi with regards of the protected players for the Rule 5 draft that happens in early December. There's many possibilities of multiple trades within Major League Baseball today at the 6 p.m. deadline because of what teams have to do to protect certain players or keep them unprotected, and then they'll be eligible for the Rule 5 draft. So a lot of eyes are on the Tampa Bay Rays, according to Jon Morosi, and we'll see it right here with Jon Morosi. He has said in multiple tweets over the last 48 hours, Rays are engaged in advanced trade negotiations ahead of Tuesday's roster protection deadline. At this point, industry observers expect multiple trades by the club over the next 48 hours. Now, this was Sunday into Monday. And of course, at the 6 p.m. deadline today, with the roster protection of certain players, multiple observers, industry observers, are projecting the club to make multiple trades over the next 48 hours. And then Morosi, not too long after that, said, sources, Mets, Cubs, and Reds have been in touch with the Rays about their available pitching. The Angels have shown interest too, as previously reported. That opened up eyes amongst baseball, especially with the Cubs looking for pitching and the Mets looking for pitching. The Reds, of course, they traded Luis Castillo, so they're looking for pitching as well. But when it comes to the Mets and the Cubs, the Mets are trying to get some pitching, considering all the players, the pitchers in their rotation that were free agents. It only makes sense that the Mets, if they can't get the pitchers in free agency, look at the trade route, and this could be a potential match for the New York Mets with a couple of pitches that we'll talk about later in this video. And then, not too long after that, an update on another Jon Morosi tweet that says the Rays' deadline to make these trades is 6 p.m. Eastern Tuesday, which is today, is when reserve lists for the Rule 5 draft must be submitted to the MLB offices. So those are all the tweets by Jon Morosi within the last 2 days regarding the fact that the Rays are the team to watch, and of course other teams as well around baseball that have to make decisions, and trades could happen based on protected players that they have to put on that they can protect and keep unprotected, who will be in the Rule 5 just later next month, earlier in December for the Rule 5 draft. So with that said, there is a possibility of multiple trades just with the Tampa Rays, with teams like the Mets, the Cubs, the Reds, and the Angels, but of course other teams as well. There's always teams in Major League Baseball looking for pitching. And with regards to the Mets situation, they have basically all their rotation except for one pitcher is not a free agent. All of them are free agents, right? Carrasco, the Mets took that option for Carrasco, but Bassett, DeGrom, Walker, all free agents. So if the Mets don't go the free agent route into retaining any of those pitchers that were currently on the Mets in 2021, they will look at the trade route. And obviously the names that everybody's talking about is Tyler Glasnow and Shane McClanahan. Those are two pitchers that the Mets can look at in a possible trade with the Rays, of course, with relief pitchers as well, and other pitchers on the roster for the Tampa Rays as well. But Morosi this morning said this: good morning. Busy day for MLB front offices ahead of the 6 p.m. Eastern deadline to set reserves list for the Rule 5 draft. Multiple trades expected across the industry by this evening. So there you go, guys. Another morning tweet from Morosi confirming the fact that there are going to be multiple trades today by the 6 p.m. Rule 5 deadline. And we got to look into that a little bit further. So with regards to the Mets, what can they do to match up with the Rays to get a guy like Tyler Glasnow? Now, when it's regards with Tyler Glasnow, before the Tommy John surgery in 2021, has been on the IL for 155 days in his career before the Tommy John surgery in 2021 in the middle of the season. That's where teams have to be concerned. And we'll look into his contract. We'll look at his stats as well to get a little deeper into Tyler Glasnow. But he's been on the IL for a total of 155 days in his career before the Tommy John surgery. And the Tommy John obviously added to that stint since 2021. Came back later in the year in 2022, pitched well, but injuries are a major concern for Tyler Glasnow, for anybody who trades for him. And of course, the Mets have to look into that because they dealt with a guy like Jacob deGrom with those injuries. They dealt with Max Scherzer with injuries over the course of the last couple of years with deGrom and last year with Max Scherzer. So they got to be careful what they decide to do. And we know that the Rays are known for trading guys that are basically used goods and fleecing teams in trades. We know about Blake Snell, who's been good for the Padres, but not the Blake Snell of a couple of years ago when he was dominant for the Rays. And of course, a trade like James Shields many years ago that was another fleece job by the Rays. So the Rays have that ability to know when to trade certain players to get back younger players, and they seem like they always win those type of trades. So looking at Tyler Glasnow and looking at the contract and of course his stats, but the contract are important, and where you could see the Rays would possibly trade certain pitchers on their roster, considering that they don't pay players. When it gets close to big time arbitration numbers and salaries for players, they tend to trade those guys. They don't keep those guys long term. They don't extend them. They usually trade them. So look at Tyler Glasnow's contract. Tyler Glasnow's contract in 2023 is $5.35 million. The luxury tax is $15 million. And that is a lot for a team like the Rays. So that's why people are going crazy, thinking that multiple teams have the opportunity to trade for Tyler Glasnow. Yes, often injured, but the talent is obvious. And Tyler Glasnow on any rotation, when healthy, can be an ace of a staff. No doubt about that. But when you look at 2024, $25 million owed to Tyler Glasnow, we know that the Rays are not going to pay that amount of money for anybody on their roster. So that's why it's pretty obvious that everybody's talking about Tyler Glasnow, who could possibly be traded today around that 6 p.m. deadline, because that's what the Rays do. It seems like every year when it comes to paying or trying to extend certain players, they just trade them and get younger and get cheaper. That's what they do. But look at Tyler Glasnow and his career over the last, I would say, 3 years. I like to look at the last 3 years with most pitchers. 2019, 1.78 ERA, but only pitched 12 games. 2020, obviously the pandemic season, 11 games. 2021, 14 games with a 2.66 ERA, but only pitched 14 games because of the Tommy John surgery. And that was a big deal because Tyler Glasnow openly came out and says he used Spider Tech. And after it was banned by Major League Baseball, Tyler Glasnow talked about the grip that he had to change without Spider Tech, and he think that affected him and was the main reason why he had to have Tommy John surgery and torn his UCL. And when he came back, he pitched in 4 games with a 1.29 ERA, so that was very good with 7 innings. Again, that was just a very, very small sample size, but it's something to look at with Tyler Glasnow going forward. But in his career, before Tommy John, 155 days on IL before the Tommy John surgery. So he is injury prone. We all know that. But the talent, you just can't pass up. And he's 30 years old. He should be in the prime of his career. And there is no doubt that any team that gets Tyler Glasnow is going to get a talented pitcher. It's just a matter of, can you keep him healthy? In his career, shown that he cannot. But the talent is not going to be passed up by many teams. That's why teams like the Reds, the Cubs, the Mets, the Angels, and probably other teams are looking at Tyler Glasnow as a possible trade option for their rotation. But there's another guy, Shane McClanahan, who is a lefty pitcher, very good. We'll look at his stats in a second. But the problem with McClanahan is that he has a lot of team control and is very, very cheap. He hasn't even hit arbitration 1 yet in his career. And the Rays love to keep those guys because they're cheap. But some people are talking about Shane McClanahan. I think this is more of a stretch, but it is also something to look at. If the deal is nice, the Rays might do this. And you look at what he did in 2021, 123 innings with an ERA of 3.43, a very good year. But look at last year, All-Star, 2.54 ERA, 12-8, 166 and a third innings, and is a lefty. I love lefties. I think lefties are important in their rotation. The Mets were very right-handed dominant in their rotation until guys got hurt and then Peterson came into the rotation. But I love left-handed starters. McClanahan would be an excellent option for any team, specifically the Mets who need rotation help. But McClanahan's going to be very hard to get. So with that said, what would you have to trade for guys like Tyler Glasnow or Shane McClanahan? Obviously, Tyler Glasnow might not cost as much as McClanahan because Glasnow has less team control and is costing more money for the Rays. So they're probably looking to trade him a lot faster than McClanahan. McClanahan's probably unlikely, but it is an option. But there's other guys that are possible on the Rays roster, like left-handed pitcher Colin Poche, who had an ERA of 3.99 in 65 games, saved 7 games in 58 and 2/3 innings, and a guy like Luis Patino, ERA was terrible, 8.10, 8 games, 20 innings pitched, but they converted him to a reliever where he showed some promise as a reliever. So there's two guys there, Colin Poche and Luis Patino, are guys that the Mets, the Cubs, the Reds, anybody who's looking for bullpen help and possible back end of the rotation type of guys, you can look at those two guys as well. But the big names, Glasnow, McClanahan, smaller names that could help teams in Colin Poche and Luis Patino. What will happen by the 6 p.m. deadline? Multiple trades? Seems like it's going to happen with the Rays. The Mets are heavily involved in trade discussions, along with the Cubs, the Reds, the Angels, and probably multiple other teams. But watch out tonight, guys. All eyes are on the Rays. Today, 6 p.m., multiple trades, according to John Morosi, can possibly go down involving the Rays, possibly the Mets, possibly the Cubs. Mets and Cubs both need rotation help. Watch out for those two teams to be heavy interest in multiple pitchers on the Rays roster. So with that said, guys, let's see what happens today at the 6 p.m. deadline with regards to the Rule 5 draft and who is going to be protected and unprotected on every team in Major League Baseball. And then we get next month to the Rule 5 draft of all those unprotected players on the rosters. So with that said, guys, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you enjoy my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos and when I go live, you guys know what to do. Hit on that subscribe button, everybody. Let me know in the comments what you think about if you're a Mets fan, Cubs fan, Reds fan, or a team that might be involved in trade talks with the Rays. What do you think your team can do to make a trade with the Rays for any of the pitchers that I mentioned in this video? Thank you guys for watching, and as always, Mets fans, let's go Mets.